So good morning, commissioners, colleagues, and attendees. Welcome to the June EDC meeting, our 5th of 2026. We've covered a lot of ground and topics so far this year as a group, and I would like to extend another thank you to Steve Cooper for his efforts last month.
Great.
And we got to see how you work on your feet. Not only did you put together the panel, but you had to pivot at about 8:10. So
Always.
but thank you again for a great program. We greatly appreciate it. Before we get to the chair's report and others, are there any questions or comments from May's meeting? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the minutes? Thank you, Praveen. A second? Second. Thank you, Phil. All in favor? Aye. Any abstentions or those not in favor? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, a couple things. First, I would like to recognize a special guest we have today, former Chair Bill Dunn. Thank you for being here, Bill. And great to see you. Yes. Well, one of the things that we're continuing to work on is the commercial vacancy working group, and Bill, under your stewardship, that was one of the main items and priorities that made a lot of headway. So thank you for your leadership there. So with commercial vacancy, two sub-working groups are working to develop a priority of list of ideas and concepts in preparation for what will likely be a presentation or a letter to this group, probably either in July or in September. So stay tuned on that. While there continues to be some nice wins and headlines, which I think we'll be hearing from Kate in a few minutes, the bottom line is the office world is still struggling. There are many distressed sales. And with that, the commercial assessed base will be continuing to decrease. So we're staying laser focused on helping or hoping to help the board and the county be as agile as possible. Second priority for this year, we've made an emphasis on not only attracting talented professionals and well-rounded professionals to the EDC as commissioners, but also delegating responsibilities across the EDC and empowering our commissioners to participate in a wide variety of community groups and local groups. So staying on that topic, you see two new faces at the table today. So I'm pleased to announce that we have two new commissioners who were appointed in May by the board and now part of our distinguished group. First up is Dr. Tracy Gilbert, joining us as the CEO and founder of System Innovation. I'll just give a quick snippet, and then if you want to say a couple words, I'll do the same with Robin. Tracy's career spanned a number of companies, including MITRE and Agility, and over the past 11 years, at System Innovation, an Arlington-based AI-driven digital engineering company. Tracy has her bachelor's from Lincoln University, along with not only a master's degree, but also a PhD from Virginia Tech. So welcome, Tracy.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Well, it is certainly an honor for me to be here today. I would consider myself an engineer's engineer, and I hope to bring that perspective here. So my background's in physics and engineering, and I run an AI digital transformation company here in Arlington. I'm also married and have 3 children. I have one graduating on the 13th. I've had one that's already graduated from Wakefield and one that's going to Wakefield. So I'm excited to be here. I'm very passionate about small businesses. I'm very passionate about technology and also just the community. So I really look forward to serving. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. I'd also like to welcome Robin Adams. Robin joins us from VHC Health, where she serves as the Vice President of Business Development, along with serving as an adjunct faculty member at George Mason. Prior to her time at VHC, Robin has spent time at URAC, Centara, Inova, and Children's National Health System. Robin is also a Hokie, or at least for graduate school, obtaining an MBA there after receiving a master's degree at Georgetown and a bachelor's degree at Cornell, where she was part of the tennis team. Welcome, Robin.
Honored to be part of this esteemed group. My name is Robin Adams. I am very passionate about health and wellness. My job has been over the last 30 years to bring health to you where you work, live, and play. If there is anything I can do for anybody as related to healthcare, I know I'm 1 degree of separation from everybody. So please let me know if you need any assistance. I am privileged to work with this STEAM group. Most of you know Adrian Stanton, and so I am a colleague of his. So I look forward to working with all of you and see what we can do together on this commission. So thank you.
Fantastic. Look forward to your contributions and welcome again. So we're going to be covering a few things today. I'm going to turn it over to Kate in just a couple minutes, but we have two guest speakers and presentations that we'll be getting to. We're going to be receiving a brief on the capital improvement program. I think the last one was 2 years ago. Does that sound right? And we will also be getting a legislative summary and priorities briefing. So those folks will be introduced here shortly. Before we get to Kate, though, unfortunately, struggled with this the last couple of days. I have to share the very sad news of Catherine Lynch's passing. I think some of you were probably aware of this, but she was a commissioner finishing her second term. She was appointed in July of 2020. And I just want to say a few things. I do believe that Jane is going to be singing out an obituary link later today. But from the moment I met her in 2023, I knew that she was a dynamic businesswoman who was always willing to lend a hand and provide leadership to our local community. I just wanted to call out a few highlights during her career, of which there were many. It was just an amazing span of different things that she did. She started her career on Wall Street as a financial analyst and then moved to public policy, working within the New York City Office of Management and Budget Department, administering AIDS spending requests during the 1980s epidemic. From there, she moved to the Soros Foundation and in 1999 made her way to our region here, where she joined George Washington University as his first chief investment officer for the University Endowment Program. She also ran the National Railroad Retirement Investment Trust, overseeing over $30 billion and supporting over 500,000 retired railroad employees and their survivors. More recently, she shifted her focus to a number of nonprofits and public company boards, including being a commissioner here and a longtime member of the executive committee. As I mentioned, she's been a part of this group since July of 2020, always providing a steady voice and opinion and keeping us on task. While she'd been struggling with her health over the past few years, precluding her from consistently being here during our meetings, she could always be counted on to give thoughtful feedback. And speaking personally, I always viewed her as someone I could count on for feedback and great counsel. Catherine, survived by her wife and partner of 26 years, Robin Garnett. Catherine will be greatly missed, and we've lost a wonderful person and great contributor. So I just want to recognize that and thank her for her contributions to this group. Okay, Kate. Sorry to end on us.
No, that was beautiful. Well, switching gears, we do have, I'm only going to talk about good things today in terms of economic outlook, and there's some positive things to report. And I want to start by highlighting, really, if we go to the next slide, just business growth and attraction activity is on the rise. Hopefully you all have seen in the news a couple of recent announcements. In May, Innovative Defense Technologies announced its expansion in Boston, where their headquarters, and they're going to be creating 210 new jobs and making a $19 million investment. You know, they were looking at different places. Our team worked with them to kind of sell why Arlington, and so they're staying and expanding here. Secondly, Spatial Front is relocating from Bethesda to Crystal City. And this is another example of just, you know, why Arlington. They actually showed interest when they started talking to our team because of the innovation district. So they will be bringing 450 new jobs to Arlington from across the river and investing about $6 million in the upgrades and that expansion project. The other thing is just AED's overall pipeline right now is on the rise. In fact, we have the highest number of potential incentive projects that we've had since 2022. So that is a really good indicator of hopefully what is a new momentum moving forward. So very excited about that. The other side of things is our tech ecosystem is continuing to boom as well. So the startup economy has seen a lot of investment. We've had two notable companies, both Quartermaster and Genlogs, saw $100 million in VC investment. We're also seeing some of our smaller companies get that Series A funding as well. So again, I take these all as very positive signs that business investment is happening here in Arlington, and we are slowly kind of seeing that activity on the rise compared to this time last year. If we go to the next slide, some other good news is on the real estate front. And reinvestment in Arlington's, real estate is really what we're seeing through the adaptive reuse programs. So what this means, again, is that we've got this office and not all of it is great. And the good news is we now have policies to see that office flip. And what you're seeing up on this chart is about 2.2 million square feet of office space has been or is about to be approved for other uses. This really reinforces the fact that Arlington is a place where we continue to see good investment in real estate. So while this isn't going to flip our commercial tax base overnight, it is certainly, again, a positive trend that these probably undervalued office, assets are moving into more productive tax generating and productive uses that not only help the bottom line, but bring more people and activity into these commercial centers. So this represents 9 buildings, 9 actual buildings. So I think that's pretty positive.
Can I ask a question or
Yes.
just try to frame this a little bit?
Yeah.
So 2.3 million about 2.3 million square feet. That's 7% of the inventory, 8% of the inventory, something like that.
Oh gosh, you're gonna get me on math. So we're about 40, what?
Go ahead.
We have 42 million
Okay,
square feet
so
of office.
five and a half.
There you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I mean, there's still, in my opinion, there's probably still a ways to go, but it's really good.
For sure. Yeah. This is a small drop in that bucket, but it is still a drop. And one of the nice things is I've asked Troy and our team to kind of create the shadow vacancy report, which is basically we can't book these as, we can't take these off of our vacancy numbers, but
Right.
until they actually change. But this drops our vacancy to about 20%.
Okay.
As opposed to the 23% we're sitting at right now. So again, if we think about it, not only that there's that big inventory out there, but what this is doing is again, we're bringing positive real estate investment into the county. So hopefully over time, we just stay on this trend and that commercial base will start to.
More housing units.
Yeah. Okay, so next slide. Some other positive news is that we're seeing some uptick in hotel occupancy and hotel, again, encouraging signs regarding year to date in Arlington's hotel performance. The latest data we have through April shows occupancy is up 2% compared to this time last year. Revenue per available room is up nearly 6%. And Virginia Tourism Corporation also noted that just last week, May 23rd to the 30th, RevPAR in Arlington was up 31% compared to 2025. So these are all really good signs. Again, I'm sitting next to a hotel operator owner, and we don't quite know what the future holds, but we're taking this as a really positive sign. If you all recall, when we had some folks here last year around the hotel summit, when recovery starts, we hope that it continues to move quickly. And that's a little bit, I think, of what we're seeing in the short term. So those are other positive things happening in Arlington. We go to the next slide. Some other exciting news is AED is going through some organizational changes. The biggest news is that we have now named a new director of AED. Anna Nissanen is going to be joining us at the end of June, and she comes to us from Fairfax County Economic Development Authority, where she serves as Senior Vice President, leading their global business investment, attraction, and growth strategy. She also oversaw operations, talent attraction, marketing, media relations, and communications. So very excited to see kind of this new energy coming to AED. I'm looking forward to partnering, and we are excited. Hopefully she will be here at our next meeting. Maybe give her a minute to kind of, get acclimated, but looking forward to her kind of sharing direction when she gets on board. The other change is that we said goodbye to Michael Stiefvater. I don't know if those of you may have not heard, but Michael left to join JBG Smith. As you may recall, he's been our Director of Business Investment for a while, and he was really the force behind the Innovation District. So we're sorry to see him go, but he hasn't gone too far. In his role at JBG Smith, he'll actually be working on attraction for their office portfolio and staying engaged in the NIQ. So he hasn't gone far. Sorry to see him go. But the exciting news is, again, it gives us an opportunity to bring in some new talent to our business investment group. So we're looking forward to that over time. And then the last thing is, we went through, as you all know, a very challenging budget time. We basically changed the way that we're doing marketing and reduced our people power in that regard. But what we're launching right now is a brand assessment, and we've got some funding to do that so that we can really get a better handle on, as we rebuild and start to do some outsourced marketing support, what do we need to do? So that brand assessment is starting right now, and we're excited about what that can lead to in terms of, really rethinking what's the story that Arlington's trying to tell and how are we telling it and how can we do that as best as possible. So that is it for me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions from the group for Kate?
Quickly, you mentioned the robust pipeline of new projects. It's strong as ever since 2022.
Yeah.
What is explaining that? Is it the national IQ? Is it a mix of tech and defense? What can explain that?
These are all good questions. I think right now, what we're seeing the most activity around is the innovation district. That has definitely, that is happening at a time when the federal government is also surging a ton of, its resources into defense and national security. So right now, that's kind of what we're seeing. The good news is, though, I think we've also seen, I'm going to call it kind of this retention, whereby there was a lot of concern kind of, I think, in our region a year ago as to federal agencies leaving the region and just a lot of disruption. And it seems that a lot of folks are also just kind of staying in place and maybe looking at consolidations and kind of reorg. And Nick, you probably are more on the front lines of this, but it just feels like things are stabilizing just a little bit. But I think the biggest energy in terms of attraction right now is definitely coming from that innovation kind of vibe that we have right now and defense spending.
I would just add anecdotally, what we're seeing is probably a higher percentage of companies looking to expand than in a long time. It's not just defense tech, it's legal services, it's financial services, it's even associations. And frankly, it's probably getting kind of back to maybe where they were, 5 or 7 or 10 years ago or close to it. But we're certainly seeing a lot more kind of investment, particularly when it comes to the buildings that have been repositioned or the newer buildings where those folks are making long-term decisions to, bring their staff in and make sure that they're recruiting and retaining the right people. Any other questions? Brad?
Quick one. Those were pretty positive hotel numbers. Do you have a sense of what's driving that? Is it like the 250 celebrations? Is it organic?
Yes, we've seen a lot of demand for 250th, but we've also seen the National Guard surge for the 250th. That's going to bring about additional 8,000 troops is what they're deploying right now. So that's going to be a big win for us for the summer. So that'll drive our occupancies for summer, which is typically July, August, which is low occupancy, into the high 80s occupancy, so which is a great win.
Thanks again, Kate, for that report. Hopefully some of those trends continue. Okay, let's go over to Meredith for a programming engagement update.
Great, thank you so much. And if I can just start by asking, do any of our commissioners, we're just talking about the National IQ district, do any of you live in the Crystal City or Pentagon City areas? No. All right. That I would ask. There's just a lot of energy around that space, and we're actively thinking about how to support the local community there, integrate with all of the commercial and investment positive energy coming into that space too. So if you do move there, would you please raise your hand and let me know? I want to talk with you. So what we're going to do is we're going to hear from Bill Walsh and Sarah Barker on their recent experiences being commissioners out in community. You'll know that every meeting will note upcoming events. We will flag priority events. And I think maybe we're going into the summer season. There's more blues festivals and concert series than pure hardcore commercial events that we have upcoming in the near term. So I'm not going to ask for any volunteers, but welcome you to experience all that there is in the community, both personally and as a commissioner. And we'd also just love to hear your perspectives when you bring it back into this room. But first, Bill, I wonder if we could first start to hear from you about the April Biz Launch event that was held at Amazon Visitor Landing at HQ2. And that resulted in $25,000 being awarded to local entrepreneurs. If you can just share, you attended that event, if you can just share your experiences and your perspectives, I would be grateful.
Sure, of course. Look forward to it. It was April 21st, actually, where I attended the 2026 Biz Launch Pitch Fest, which included 8 presentations ranging from end of life journey support service to a much lighter topic, sun and honey catering business, as well as stay okay hotel security, which focused on the safety of those of us who have the privilege of traveling abroad. I thought that was quite a unique presentation. The event was led by Alex Held, which I suspect many of you know him. I first met him at this Biz Launch activity and had the opportunity to meet him. And he asked me to discuss with you all the potential structural change in future events. Alex asked us to consider the possibility of establishing a qualifying round with the ADC members serving as judges. The idea would be to hold a qualifying round and thereby narrow the services and narrow the final field to 10 contestants, as opposed to hosting all 24 companies in that one session. And for whatever it's worth, based upon my presentation there and talking to Alex and others, I think it's a real good idea. And it may make some sense, subject to your approval, have Alex meet with us here and maybe explain this thought more deeply.
So was this all in the event was one night for a couple hours, just to get some context?
It was for one day. It was started at 8 o'clock and ended about 4 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
It was a long day.
Yeah, sure.
In full disclosure, I left around lunchtime. And I did it because we have a new neighbor. This is a footnote, a new neighbor just moved to Arlington, California with his family. He was with Amazon in California and he got a big job here. And I said, my man, how about a tour? So I went out the back door. We went up to the 19th floor, which was extraordinary. The view out of the 19th floor was unbelievable. You're looking at the Washington Monument down, looking down. So that was, it was good. It was good. I mean, it was really worthwhile. I enjoyed it. A lot of different companies talking about ice cream. Ice cream presentation was one of the winners. So
They
that's
give
what I
out
like.
samples?
Yes, sir.
There you go.
That's great. So it sounds like we have a potential future Arlington County Shark Tank opportunity.
Now you talk.
Right. So if he would want to continue the conversation, welcome him reaching out through you to me, and we can discuss if there would be commissioners this time next year or spring next year who would give a couple of hours and be part of the competition. I understand that this year's cohort included 40 businesses. And this event, Bill, that you're at marked the culmination of the Biz Launch Transformational Challenge. This is like a multi-month-long program that's designed to equip entrepreneurs with the critical skills to strengthen and scale their businesses
Yes.
in the county and across the region and beyond. So thank you so much for that. And Any questions for Bill before we turn to Sarah?
Meredith, I might be able to add a little context too.
Please,
I didn't have the opportunity to attend this year. I was out of town, but I actually served as one of the judges last year. And so I did stay the whole day for that one. But it is a really great program that's under Biz Launch. Alex is under Tara's team. I think I see Tara online there. So part of AED's Biz Launch team. But it is a really great program, again, to cultivate entrepreneurs. And this year they really increased the focus on, the tie to Arlington as well. So again, just encourage, yes, it is a longer day, but it's a great opportunity. And again, I think there certainly would be an open door to some conversations with the EDC in terms of partnership moving forward. I'll probably claim that Alex is a former colleague of mine at the chamber, and we ran a youth entrepreneurship program that was a little bit of the inspiration for this curriculum as well. But Alex and Tara are doing a fabulous job with that. And it is really, really impactful. I think Sun and Honey Grazing Board, it's a grazing board company, was their top winner, I believe. And we've already seen them out and about networking in the community with AED and others as well.
That's terrific, Kate. I welcome the conversation and look forward to seeing how the Biz Launch event and transformational challenge next year continues to grow our cohort of entrepreneurs in the region. Thank you so much for that. Sarah, we'll turn to you on the Arts Commission.
Sure. I attended the Arts Commission meeting on May 13. There was not a quorum, so we couldn't go forward. However, I happened to have been the guest speaker then, and they graciously allowed me to give my presentation and recorded it for the members. Deirdre McWilliams, who's here today, our new Cultural Affairs Director, was there. It was great to meet Deirdre there. And I did give a presentation on an effort I'm leading, which is to create an arts center at Ballston Quarter. So happy to discuss that more here at a future date, perhaps. But yeah, it went well. I'll be at the next one in a couple of weeks. So
Awesome.
Report out. I do know, because my theater company is one of the applicants. The arts grants are coming in and will be due, I think, next Wednesday. So that's the latest for them.
Thank you so much. Any questions for Sarah? All right. Well, I think our next meeting in July, we will be hearing from Rich Dooley, who's the county's Director of Climate Policy, and we'll invite Paula, who is the Commission's liaison to the Climate Action Plan Advisory Group, to also share her thoughts and perspectives on that as well. So thank you so much for interest in our community. And I'll to Nick and to Brad.
Thank you, Meredith.
Yeah, I'll make this brief. Just a little bit of an update on our commission. With the appointments of Tracy and Robin and the unfortunate passing of Catherine, we're now at 23 seats out of 26, which puts us in a pretty good place. We are going to have some national rollover for the next 3 or 4 quarters. So we continue to ask people if you have recommended individuals or candidates that could be put into our pipeline. That would be great. Recommendations are always one of the best ways for us to really canvass the community and get the best possible people onto the commission. We do have a couple people that we're in process right now, but again, we're always looking for those good candidates. Right now, we have 2 areas of focus. One is commercial real estate, finance, and economics, and one is kind of in the workforce and education realm. So those aren't absolutely exclusive, but those are 2 particular categories that we're looking for candidates for with those backgrounds. But again, if you have anybody, please recommend them.
Brad, the last one was workforce.
Workforce education.
Got it.
Thank you, Brad, for your continued work. Really appreciate it.
Okay. All right. So I'll take the introduction of our next topic, which is capital improvement program brief. Richard Stevenson is here to join us. Richard is with our Department of Management and Finance. So Richard, thank you for being here. Take it away.
Thanks for having me. A number of familiar faces in the room through various intersections with the county. So just as an introduction, my name is Richard Stevenson. I'm the Budget Director in the Department of Management and Finance. I've been with the county for a little over 30 years. The Budget Director since 2011. Time flies when you're having fun here at the county. I'm born and raised in Arlington. So what's great with about working for the county is as we develop the budget, operating and the capital, I actually get to experience and see all the great things that happen here in the county. And so with that, I'll walk through our capital improvement plan. We do this every 2 years. It's a 10-year plan. As you probably know, the first 2 years are a little more solid in what's going to happen. And then as we get into the outer years, things shift as we reevaluate in each 2-year cycle. I love the news that Kate talked about earlier on the revenue side, because that's really what is the underpinning of funding both our operating and capital plan. And as you know, the commercial vacancy rate has really put a strain on the revenue side. And actually, as we developed the capital plan this year, if you were to compare it to the prior 10-year plan, you'll really see in some of the areas of transportation where we've had to pull back because of the C&I tax, the commercial and industrial tax estimates being down due to the valuations on the commercial side of the ledger. So on the first slide here, the next slide. Oh, I have the clip. Sorry. There we go. All right. So county manager in May proposed the 10-year plan, $4.3 billion. And as you know, it crosses a wide swath of assets in the county, anything from transportation to our parks, our stormwater. We have backbone of our technology. All of these things are supported by our 10-year capital plan. So when we were developing the plan, the manager gets guidance from the board, and we had a number of guiding principles to develop his proposals. Strengthening the financial sustainability was really one of the underpinnings in the development of our plan. That and maintaining county's existing assets. With the constrained revenue side, these were the two main guiding principles that really led the manager in his recommendations. And then also, another number of other core principles. We have to meet our regional and regulatory obligations, most significantly Metro, supporting the environment. You'll have them come in next month and talk about that. And we have to be nimble enough to respond to emerging service demands. So as we're putting the numbers together, we have to look at the risks and financial assumptions underpinning this. So obviously what you all do with what's happening in the economy, with what's happening with inflation. It's been over the last number of years, as you know, somewhat unpredictable, whether that's coming from across the river or just the general economic environment. And then building a capital plan, regulatory changes, and just trying to anticipate events that may occur over the period of time that we're planning for. So on the financial side, you all know we've gone through a round of budgetary cuts, right? The revenue's been constrained, natural growth of expenses has exceeded revenue growth. And so we really did focus on this part of the equation, which was the impact of the capital plan on the annual debt service on the operating budget, right? When we issue debt, we have to support that debt through the general fund and the local tax base. And so with the manager's focus, more significantly this cycle than in previous cycles is how that debt service was impacting our operating budget. So it did force us to make some changes in the out years of the plan where we had to push some projects out from the plan 2 years ago, really focusing in on what was sustainable financially for the operating budget. You often hear us talk about, we have policies regarding debt and the support of it. These are the 4 board adopted policies for that. We weren't as concerned in hitting any of these levels this year since we were concerned just as schools was on how the debt service was impacting the operating side of the budget. Oftentimes in the past, we talk about the 10% debt service as a percent of general government expenditures. Our CIP remains in the low 9% range. We do have a lot of headroom for that measure, but again, it has to be supported by the debt service on an annual basis. So this year, the manager's proposing to go to the voters in October or November, excuse me, $182 million of new referenda. That's excluding schools. And schools, this slide, actually, I should have updated it. It says 60 million for schools. I think the school board is proposing something slightly higher for some construction of their capital plan. Now, how do we pay for the CIP? We have a lot of different sources that go into its funding. I mentioned the C&I tax, so that's the transportation capital funds. They're 14%. But we also have our bond obligations. We get monies from state and federal sources, grants, and then 10% from pay-as-you-go. That's the transfers that come across from the general fund to fund the capital side. And then this chart just illustrates where the money's going. Unfortunately, I'm talking to you, and the upper portion of this shows a very small percentage going to economic development. But we have huge infrastructure in the county, as you all know. And so it's not surprising that you'll see, a significant amount of the capital plan going to the water and sewer infrastructure and our government facilities and transportation. And I'll talk about each of these programs in the next couple slides. So we'd like to use this graphic to sort of illustrate all the places that we have investments. This is a DES slide, but you can see the buckets of funding that are going toward the capital plan and the types, and I'll get into the types of things that it's funding. So I'll start off with facilities. This was a real focus of the manager in really maintaining what we have, right? There's not a lot of new things in the CIP. We do have things going on in Roslyn with the boathouse. That will be a new asset. But really the focus was on maintaining the buildings and the facilities that we currently have. And you can see the amount of space and across the county, the types of facilities that we need to make investments in.
I see that we have a park that's 241 years old.
Yes.
I hope there's a story behind it.
I think that's the park that's right off Langston, as you go toward Roslyn, where that grocery store is. Go on. I can't think of the name of the park, but I think that's yes. And the thing with our facilities is we have facilities that are 24/7. I mean, you think of the detention center, these buildings need to be maintained. The homeless services center, significant investments need to be made in buildings across our portfolio. And so here you can see, of the $448 million, some of the different areas I've just mentioned: the Courts Police Building, the courthouse complex. We're doing some expansion of the homeless services center. We have the Quincy Street complex, investments there. Thomas Jefferson Community Center, sort of in the middle of our CIP. The schools is going to be redeveloping or expanding that building. So we have some funding in there to time up with them. More recent to the CIP is the Ballston Public Parking Garage. We did a facility assessment on this structure, and some significant investment needs to be made in that garage. And then in the later years, we have the Lee Community Center, and sort of ongoing to our public facilities is the energy efficiency and resiliency, just upgrading our buildings to be more efficient. We have significant assets, as you know, across our transportation system, whether that's, paving and road maintenance to our art bus facility, all our pedestrian bridges that we have, and the bridges that we have through our parks and our capital, bike share programs. So here the 10-year plan is $1.5 billion. We're trying to, maintain our street infrastructure, right? Keeping our pavement condition index in a range above 80. And then, there's a number of bridges and sidewalks, all the things in our neighborhood that need to be maintained and invested in. And then as you can see on the right, some of the other large projects, probably geographically, most significantly, the Ballston West entrance going underway in the next couple of years. In terms of our regional commitments, significant amount of our investments are toward Metro. It's a combination of both our geo debt supporting that along with state aid. And included in our bond referendum is funding for a Metro obligation. In terms of parks, again, assets of a wide variety, whether it's dog parks to community gardens, maintaining all the different elements, from park benches to synthetic turf, all the things that our businesses and residents get to experience in the community. And so here you can see across the different programs, some of the investments across various programs, maintaining the different turf fields to some specific parks. Quincy Park coming up in the middle of our CIP. Roslyn Gateway is going to be a huge investment in that part of the county. And I mentioned that along with the boathouse, also in the mid to the latter part of the CIP. We also have our neighborhoods program, been around for a number of years. This is very much a ground up neighborhoods based capital program for investment in the community. This year we're proposing, usually there's bond funding in each cycle. The manager is proposing that no new bond funds in the next couple of years because we have balances. We've got a lot of projects in the pipeline with enough funding to take care of that. And then as we move through the 10-year process, there's proposal to add additional bond funding in the latter part of the CIP. And I don't have to talk too much about the infrastructure of our utilities, but we have significant infrastructure below the surface that needs to be maintained. I'm in Donaldson Run. That's where I live right now. And there's a lot of water projects going on in my neighborhood. I curse, but at the same time, I appreciate, the replacement of those pipes that have probably been under the ground since the 40s or, 30s or 40s in my neighborhood. The same as with stormwater, maintaining that infrastructure throughout the county. The flooding of 2019 really showed our vulnerability in this area, and the county's made significant investments throughout the county in these. And so some of those are the specific areas that really got hit in that storm that we had back then. This is a lot of the back office stuff, the things that people don't see, but we spend a significant amount of investment in our hardware and software, all the backbone network infrastructure, whether it's, data being in the cloud environment to the applications that we all run the business of the county on. And so there's about $263 million in enterprise system technology, and along with public safety vehicles. That's anything from the heavy vehicle apparatus for fire, all the technology hardware that's in all the police cars, all of that's funded out of our capital program. This is new, and this I think will be an intersection with this commission probably moving forward. The manager, and it came up significantly in the operating budget. Housing has always been a critical piece of and priority of the county. What the manager in this capital plan is he's putting out there that, not only should the county be investing in housing, but we need partners in the community as well. And we have a significant number over the of units that will be affordable housing units that will be rolling off their exemptions. And so the county, if to maintain that housing, we're gonna have to make some significant investments. So over the next 18 months, the manager's looking for direction from the board to, prepare a proposal that will fund close to $500 million for these new affordable units. And he's proposing that it's going to be a portion from the county, a portion from corporate philanthropic contributions, and then private philanthropy. So more to come on this. I'm sure that you will no doubt be a part of these conversations. So I'll leave it at that. More to come. And then this is just our general timeline. We proposed the CIP in May. We're in the middle of work sessions. We actually have one this afternoon on transportation, metro and debt. Facilities is next week. So that's a big area. We'll have some public hearings in July, along with meeting with all boards and commissions. I assume your presence will be there. And then the board will adopt the CIP in the third week of July. So I think with that, I'll happy to answer any questions.
So I think, thank you, Richard, first of all. So I think we have a few minutes for questions before we go over to Brian, but I had a comment and a question. So I believe 2 years ago, we wrote a letter that commented on the proposed CIP. So what I would ask from the group, I know we just saw a lot and that was great, but if there are any specific things that folks on the commission really like, don't like, question, whatever it may be, let's talk about it. So please, send a note over to me for, and we can take it from there to see if we want to submit a letter. Obviously, we're under a pretty truncated timeframe. Then a question for you related to the bonds. So it looked like you guys are assuming about a 5% interest rate, but a lot of the year-over-year increases were less than 5%. Is that because you have a lot of bonds still on the books that were issued during lower interest rate periods?
Yeah, I took out one of the slides that when we presented the budget, and it showed the roll off of debt. And we're trying to keep, again, it's really focused on the cost of the debt service and its impact on the general fund. And interestingly, schools kind of did the exact same thing. We know that over the next, well, I don't know. I mean, Kate, with the hotel tax increase and the commercial vacancy coming down, our revenue picture will be different. But we still are concerned over the next, couple years that how we can afford that debt service. We did actually just go to the bond market. I don't know if they put out a press release yet. Does that come out?
There was a question.
It was, yeah. We actually got a really good rate. I think still in the low threes.
Wow.
I don't think we were expecting that level of interest rate on our.
Are they usually 30-year bonds, or is there a variety?
I think they do them over 20.
20, okay. Thank you. Yes, Janetta.
Question, is there any outreach that you do amongst the business community or metrics that you look to inform the plan that you develop?
So again, I should bringing up all these slides that I took out of the presentation. We did do some survey, some outreach. They had our communications office went out and asked the community, both. I don't know if it was more resident based. But yeah, and then I attend commission meetings just like this to solicit that sort of information. We have the public hearings and stuff to get that sort of input. And the manager is very engaged in the business community to get their direct feedback. But if we can do something different or more, we have actually be open to it, especially as we do the outreach when we start entering a new cycle for operating in CAP and CIP. So if the commission has any ideas how we could better reach the business community as an input to preparing those plans, I'd be more than welcome that.
this wasn't on the input side, but on the communication side of the Chamber and our Government Affairs Committee, we had a presentation on just the transportation aspects of the CIP. So that was an engagement, but it wasn't the feeding information in.
I get to come to your commission. Every year too.
Hey, Rich.
Right, good to see you.
Great to see you.
I know. I miss you.
Miss you too. I want to commend you guys. The affordable housing proposal, I know there's a very long way to go, but we were really excited to see that. And I think it shows for a long time, I mean, the county has talked about and actually done a lot in that affordable housing space and recognizing that as foundational to the kind of community that we are and want to remain. And this is really exciting. I mean, this is really potentially a watershed moment, not just for us, but in other jurisdictions around the country. So really want to commend you on that and really excited about it. Smaller thing, and this is kind of on the margins, on project delivery for some of these larger projects. We had the 12th Street Transitway, I forget which segment, but that was closed down between Eads and Fern. And I'm wondering, I know from a timing standpoint of that, closing it all down and kind of letting the contractor stage and do that made it move a lot faster. I'm wondering, are you guys looking at, are there potential savings on mega projects, by kind of doing a little bit of a different project delivery that may have more short-term impact, but again, lowers that overall project costs and speeds delivery?
Yeah, I can't speak to that project, though. If you tune into the work session starting the 12th today, maybe that will come up as a part of the transportation presentation. But we did spend a lot of time in structuring the plan for the timing and delivery, of projects. I've had a number of comments. Well, people saw that their projects funding was spread out differently in the CIP, and we were trying to be realistic about when we needed the money in which fiscal year, and then how it also intersected in some cases with other projects.
Yeah.
Right, to your point, for efficiency of project delivery. So manager and DES in particular, we spent a lot of time talking about that timing, because it's so core to intersecting of the funding and availability of funds.
Yeah.
But no, I'll have to listen closely. I don't follow that particular project.
Okay, guys, one more really short question. I'm so sorry. Another project on the Lee Community Center. I kind of dropped the thought on that, but seeing it in there, is that, I know there's probably a larger planning effort going on around that. Does this assume a redevelopment with, I know housing as a potential component of that was something that was
I think that's still being worked through with the Langston group, and it's pushed into the out year of the CID. It could have an intersection with housing. I haven't heard that directly, but I'm sure there are advocates for that mixed use, on that site. I think there are a lot of different groups interested in that. What will be up in that space.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you again, Richard. Okay, let's move over to Brian Estee for a legislative update.
All getting loaded. Hello, everyone. I'm Brian Estee. I handle state and federal legislative affairs for Arlington County. I know met some of you. I know of some of you, my fellow Brian, and also at least partial success. I'm a partial successor, Brian Stout, in his role. But I just wanted to run through some economic development focused stuff that went on during the 2026 session, including one of our big initiatives.
It wasn't just me.
There we go. So session at a glance, a lot of bills, over 2,300, factoring in vetoes, about 1,131 passed. It's obviously the first session of a new legislative trifecta and Governor Spanberger. Just quickly, some not directly economic development related topics, so everything ties into each other. We had our automatic traffic enforcement. Photo speed, photo red was a big topic. New guidelines were put upon that, extra signage, of the money for transportation. Fortunately, this was a case where Arlington is a very good actor, and unfortunately, others are less conscientious in how they utilize it. I'm not going to name names, but there was one place that had one camera that made $6 million. So, and that's of I believe it's 50 million total statewide. So that obviously got a bunch of attention. Public sector collective bargaining was another big issue. The bill was ultimately vetoed. We have heard that it's possible that at least elements of that bill will end up in the final budget, if and when we have it. Utility regulation, quite a bit of that, and related, bringing Virginia back into the regional greenhouse gas initiative, RGGI, and then still the main point of contention and why we don't have a budget, the data center tax break. I wish I had insights and good news to share, but right now it seems like to still be the stickiest of sticking points at the moment. So thank you all last year for providing your legislative priorities. We'll just say you're of the commissions, you were the most successful. I won't look into it. You don't have to fact check me, but everything you all brought forward had some level of movement in a positive direction. Obviously, tourism improvement district, and I'll combine that with the transient occupancy tax boost, and big thanks to Kate Bates and John Musso, the chamber, who were very helpful in pushing that forward. So we will have those options on the table starting July 1st. And again, in a theme, we are waiting to see what the final budget holds in regard to that, because there was a regional TOT that was put in the Senate budget for natural capital needs. At least the latest that we've heard, or the strongest push has been for the House's approach to just continue the patch for the next 2 years. Fortunately for our needs and our ability to explore the TID and or TOT boost, is that Maryland did not do anything on the capital side this year. So the pressure is sort of off of Virginia to do anything on that front. Obviously not great governance, but in this one unique way, it's helpful. Urban Public-Private Partnership Redevelopment Fund. The exact changes stalled, but there is going to be a work group. I understand, I just found out today that we will have representation on that work group, which is great, to suggest reforms for the upcoming session. Virginia Economic Development Partnership, pulled from the House and Senate budgets, so safe to assume that it will be in a final budget, is 10 million more to the Virginia Business Ready Sites Program under VEDP. Quick note, because I don't mention it, I don't believe later, we are currently hearing on the budget that there may be a quote unquote skinny budget. The open question is how skinny such a budget would be. It can go as skinny as only the things we legally have to cover to prevent, losing our bond rating and breaking contracts. But I think there is some level of hope that it would be more akin to everything that they agree on being put in a skinny budget, and then them coming back to deal with the thornier issues, namely data center tax break, public sector collective bargaining, and cannabis as well. So perfect segue here to legal market for cannabis. The bill was ultimately vetoed over implementation differences with the governor. I did actually just read an article this morning that patrons are expressing hope that there will be a addition in the budget that will allow the legal market for cannabis to move forward. Another big theme in the economic sort of business range is a confirmation of the existing economic incentives negotiated under the previous administration. These are I won't read them all out, but there's a list of confirmed incentives that were finalized in legislation. There's the Employee Child Care Assistance Program, which I know we've been hearing more and more about the challenge of childcare as it relates to businesses and their workers. So this program would create state matching funds for any employers that decided to provide a childcare benefit to their workers, as so long as funds last, of course. Another impactful one for business community will be the paid family and medical leave program, which will function not dissimilarly to unemployment in terms of, payroll deductions for both businesses and employees to fund central paid family and medical leave program. Reduction of the current food and beverage ratio. This one was actually a surprise because last year it sort of hit a buzzsaw when they put this forward. But there is a reduction depending on your a given business's amount of food that they sell, dollar amount of food. It brings it as low as, I put it here, I think it's the lowest level is 30% or perhaps 25% for certain entities. And if you sell a certain amount of food, you are not subject. Here we go. It is, if you sell 48,000 in food, the ratio no longer applies. And then it was 30% is the lowest, which applies to anyone selling 25,000 to 48,000 in food. The current 45% rate stays in place for entities selling 4,000 to 25,000. And then there's some other unique tweaks for smaller businesses with less than 30 seats or capacity of 60 people to be also taxed at that 30% rate. I know our friends at the chamber were very involved in this local preference for products and firms. Unfortunately, it was not successful in passing. I would defer to them as to whether they plan on working to bring it back next year, because I think it could be obviously very beneficial to our local businesses. So looking forward to 2027, assuming you all don't want to retire after your all-star season of making progress on all your priorities. The request for input went out on June 1st. If you did not receive it, it went out to the chair. So the chair, if you did not receive it, let us know. I'll make sure you get it. There's a link here and I can make sure it gets provided separately to a training I did last month, just sort of giving a 101 so people understand a lot of the jargon and and just ins and outs of how things operate, with a bit of strategy thrown in and some advice for informing the recommendations that you put forward. It is rather long. Feel free. I will take no offense if you just put it on in the background and don't pay attention to the video. But a sneak preview from that, rules of thumb, avoiding things that require significant financial resources. Obviously, you all are quite familiar with, and Richard has just mentioned, strains locally, financially, given some of the economic headwinds, but also same thing is hitting the state. And so there's a general reluctance to, especially long-term commitments of money. So keep that in mind with ideas. You suggest that the more money it costs, especially at the state level, the harder it'll be to achieve. Looking at state, Senate and House leadership, and Arlington's delegation priorities, so that we can try to swim in their wakes. Because again, if they're doing something kind of like what we want to do and we can join them and help push it forward, that is easier to get forward. And also think long-term, some things, much like we're seeing with the Urban Public-Private Partnership Fund, you got to think long-term. And this is situations where we could explore a study, we can explore some other vehicle to get the conversation going, and then come back in the following year or following 2 years and try to get it put in place. So the idea classifications are the same as they were last year. Urgent is, it's going to affect us right now. Ready, has already been vetted, doesn't require a formal study, or maybe has had a formal study. The example I like to give of what a ready issue would be is, some of you I know, our friends of the chamber know, Chris Lan, our lobbyist down in Richmond. Basically, I think of ready issues as if we needed to go present to a committee or down in Richmond later today, could we give him enough information to give him a fighting chance? And that's what sort of ready issues, and everything else sort of falls into that visionary category that just means, hey, we haven't figured out what it looks like or what exactly we're trying to, we know what we want to do, we don't know how we want to do it, may need a study, may need further vetting, may not be a good fit for the current moment. There's another one. And then assisting during session, sharing information. I know a lot of you belong to other organizations that may be doing legislative advocacy. Any information you hear is always appreciated, because it can help us make more informed decisions. Making yourself available as a resource, especially if we're doing something that is in your wheelhouse, you have an interest in, being a subject matter expert for us on it. We're always happy to take advantage of that. We're very lucky in Arlington to have a ton of high quality, very successful people to draw from. And then the last thing is those aforementioned groups where they can, where you can connect them with us, that they can be helpful if they are also supportive of the idea. And so with that, I'll open up to questions. I obviously put my email up there incorrectly. I messed up, but it's .us, and you all know that. I'll blame it on my last of the year at the county. I forgot. But I will, and just let the AED staff know that you're also doing it, so they're in the loop, because they will obviously be part of our legislative team during session and in the lead up. So with that, happy to answer any questions.
I've got one, and Steve Fedorchak, perhaps. I saw one, I think it was HB 975, about like a food to beverage ratio. I don't really understand it, but is that Is that anything that's on your radar is something that's good, bad, or?
I think, it's good,
Okay.
I think it makes the barrier to entry for someone who wants to own and run a bar forward concept as opposed to a food forward concept. It eases the pathway in that regard. Candidly, the enforcement of the pre-existing ratio has always been somewhat erratic. And with declining beverage consumption trends, I would have liked to have seen this 10 or 20 years ago. This has been on the docket for a couple decades, kind of a blue law state. So the interest for me was how the cannabis veto was related to the lowering of the beverage threshold, but that's a different discussion.
And yeah, I would say at least that last question, not much to my understanding. I think it is taking the governor at her word, and as I understand it, that is, there's no, game playing that's going on with that. She just, by nature, is a bit more moderate and cautious and wants to roll out more slowly, whereas the proposals that went through the General Assembly were, we would have had rollout by this fall.
Yeah, a little quick.
Yeah, and so that would have been quite quick. I know there was also some concerns about what existing medical cannabis businesses might be able to benefit, where like new startups might not be able to benefit because they could turn around. But like I said, as of this morning, it seems like they're going to move something forward. With as is with the rest of the budget, we don't know what that is quite yet. But we'll be keeping an eye on it.
No, and I appreciate that distinction in the context of being a food, beverage, lifestyle entrepreneur. I want to be clear, I'm not entering the cannabis business anytime soon, but to, at least as an owner. But to get back to your question, we're seeing the migration of, spirits and alcohol consumption. It's a, macro story to cannabis. So it's important in terms of, extracurricular lifestyle dollars being spent that are taxed accordingly. Let's Phil.
I have interest in the local preference, where that stands. I did the Chamber Day with Kate and John Russo.
Mhm.
And so Kate, kind of, that was something that we pushed when we were down there. Do you know where that stands and something we put up again?
Yeah, thanks, Phil. So again, as Brian shared, and again, thank you, Brian, for the presentation, all your partnership. Again, recognize my colleague, John, in the back, always here, but again, give him a special shout out today. So unfortunately, again, that bill did die along the way, so it didn't make its way to the governor, but we absolutely plan to reintroduce that and to bring things full circle, since we do have some newer commissioners. This actually came from an EDC meeting, even though the chamber, given our role, again, as the one who's been carrying it, John helped work with, the legislators to help draft it. But we had a panel on small business, and we had a number of mid-sized businesses, and we talked about what tangible things would be helpful for you. And we had, business owners talk about, again, how other states have this procurement preference that Virginia doesn't. So we were looking at whether it be a statewide or a local municipality wide. There was certainly support for it along the way. It got kind of an unexpected, from the outside. It had been watered down a little bit, honestly, throughout the process, a little more than we wanted. And then we had, a committee member dysfunctionally kill it, unfortunately. But we'll be working actively with our legislators, and assuming it can be, the county board does officially adopt their priorities and the chamber board adopts ours, but we rarely take a huge 180 from a previous position. But assuming those bodies move forward as they did this year, we'll be absolutely working on that together.
Procurement is always a challenge and can be a minefield down in Richmond, where, again, everyone, exactly as Kate outlined it, everyone seems to be okay with it, and then out of nowhere, someone feels some sort of way. And if they're important enough, then that can derail it. But usually it just takes time and hand holding and making sure they understand that it's not the end of Western civilization. It'll be fine. It won't cause, major problems. So, it's certainly an idea that I forget if we had included it in our package, but it's definitely something that we will consider including our positions if we didn't. And if it was there, then I would imagine we would keep it there.
Brian, just one, the second bullet there, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think, all of these look like very important projects, but none are in Arlington, correct? They're more like distribution or other.
Correct. Yeah, so it's pharmaceuticals, there's some, like the Hitachi is transformers, the electrical transformers, not the others. Lego is toys, but none in Arlington. I included it more so for the fact that it seems like in these especially targeted situations that it at least seems like the General Assembly is holding the vibe of the last several years to provide targeted support to businesses.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions for Brian? Okay, thank you for your time. So despite almost being the beginning of summer now, there are 2 homework assignments for everybody. There's a lot happening as we've heard today. So between the commercial working group, the CIP and legislative priorities, all these things are kind of, combining at once. So to the extent that folks from the table have thoughts, questions, please reach out to me and or Kate, and we can discuss from there. And we will be, evaluating what actions to take over the next few weeks here. Okay. Okay, well, that brings us to number 4. Is there any new business that anybody would like to discuss or raise? Okay, well, we will adjourn. Thanks for a great meeting.